Hello everyone, I'm Sheriff Wayne Ivey of the Brevard County Sheriff's Office, and you're watching Truth Be Told. Over the course of the past 22 months, the Florida Today has written in excess of 57 articles about the death of inmate Gregory Edwards, who died in Sheriff's Office custody following his arrest on December 9th of 2018. Edwards was arrested that same day by West Melbourne police after he violently attacked and injured a charity worker who was picking up toys from Walmart for the Kids Without Christmas organization. In practically every article, the Florida Today has implied that our deputies' actions caused or somehow contributed to Edwards' death. And even after the medical examiner determined that Edwards died accidentally as a result of excited delirium, not blunt force trauma or asphyxia, the Florida Today published articles that led some in this community to believe his death was not accidental, but rather intentional or willful. Unfortunately, the stories that have been published left out the recorded statements of several inmates who actually witnessed firsthand what happened in the jail and how professionally the Brevard County Sheriff's Office corrections deputies responded to his violent actions. The inmates actually gave sworn recorded statements stating that the deputies were polite and tried to calm him down, yet he was extremely violent and was even described by one of the inmates as fighting like a caged animal. Those were the inmates' words, not mine. Now, I know what you're thinking. Maybe the media didn't have all of this information. Wrong. They had every bit of it, as they were provided every single report, interview, all videos other than the jail surveillance video, recorded statements, photographs, and so on. Yet somehow, the Florida Today didn't think any of that was important in their continued attacks on our deputies. Following the very in-depth and thorough death investigation of Edwards, the state attorney for the 18th Judicial Circuit reviewed the entire case, including jail security video that captured Edwards' violent attack on a corrections deputy and how the deputies responded to the attack and de-escalated it as safely as possible. Following the review of the investigation, the state attorney determined that there was no wrongdoing on behalf of the arresting officers or attending corrections deputies. In fact, the state attorney found that the facts and evidence in the case supported the actions of the arresting officers and corrections deputies, the findings of the medical examiner, and also concluded that the corrections deputies responded to Edwards' violent attack in the appropriate manner and used great restraint in addressing the threat. As a result of the state attorney's findings, the Florida Today began to target the medical examiner, and in fact, a few citizens questioned his ability so much that the state medical examiner's board reviewed the entire autopsy and jail security video and once again came to the conclusion that the medical examiner did nothing improper in arriving at the cause of death for Edwards as excited delirium. And after that didn't work in their favor, the Florida Today and the same small group of citizens asked for an independent review of the investigation by an outside agency. So even though the law did not require me to do so, in an abundance of transparency, I invited the Florida Department of Law Enforcement to conduct an independent review of the incident and to immediately take to the state attorney any findings they observe that would indicate unprofessional or criminal actions on the part of any member of my team. In requesting that FDLE conduct the review, our agency provided them with every aspect of the investigation, including the jail security video that captured the incident at the booking desk and subsequent actions by the responding corrections deputies and medical staff. The result? After spending weeks reviewing the case file and jail security video, FDLE concluded that our agency did an extremely thorough job of conducting the investigation and presenting the actual facts and evidence of the case to the state attorney for review. And even after all of that, the Florida Today, as part of their continued and deliberate attacks on the Brevard County Sheriff's Office, demanded that the Sheriff's Office release the jail security video of the incident, even though they are well aware that jail security video is exempt by Florida statute and public records because it shows security features, jail movement procedures, and other aspects that could damage the security of the jail and the safety of those employed there should it become public record. Essentially, jail security video is exempt from public record for the safety and security of the facility, the employees, and the inmates that are housed within, and the exemption and need to keep jail security video confidential was so profound that in 2001, the Florida legislature made it a law that the video could not be released unless specifically ordered by a judge. So even with knowing the entire facts of the case, the findings of the state attorney, the review of the case by FDLE, and the security concerns of the jail, the Florida Today filed a lawsuit against your sheriff and your Brevard County Sheriff's Office to have a judge order the video to be released. As a result, a Brevard County Circuit Judge has now recently authorized me to play a redacted and narrated version of the jail security video that protects the public record's concern of revealing the security surveillance system at the Brevard County Jail Complex, while also providing answers that anyone in our community may have as a result of the overwhelming amount of misinformation that has been implied by the Florida Today in over 57 articles about the death of Gregory Edwards. Given much of the misinformation circulating in the community, I now feel that it has become necessary to show this video in order to protect the integrity of our agency and my deputies who have been criticized for simply doing their jobs. The judge's order was required to make public these confidential records under Florida statute. As part of the agreement with the court, I feel that it is extremely important for our citizens to know the entire true story that led to Edwards' arrest, including his previous arrest and violent acts, as well as suspected inhalant usage immediately prior to his arrest and arrival at our facility, where he subsequently attacked one of our deputies before being restrained by corrections deputies. Today you will hear and see the actual facts of the case, as I'm going to show you exactly what occurred when Gregory Edwards became violently combative and how professional my deputies were in addressing the threat and bodily harm that was inflicted upon Deputy Brian Otto, and the threat that Edwards would have remained if not secured. I'm also going to show you just how quickly my deputies de-escalated the incident once it was under control, and how wrong the accusations have been in suggesting that we had something to hide. While no one should ever have to watch this level of violence, I feel it is extremely important to clear the good and honorable names of my deputies who have been called murderers and unprofessional by the Florida Today. On December 9th, 2018 at approximately 11:20 a.m., Kathleen Edwards took her husband Greg Edwards to the West Melbourne Walmart because she was scared to leave him alone because he had not slept in 3 to 4 days, was exhibiting signs of a PTSD episode, and she thought he might kill himself if left alone. The video you see is Walmart security video that shows Kathleen Edwards, her child, and Greg Edwards walking toward the store. As you can see in the video, while Kathleen goes inside, Greg Edwards never enters the store, but instead finds a box truck nearby and climbs into the back of it, where toys for kids without Christmas were being stored for transport by volunteers. While inside the box truck, Edwards is directed to exit the truck as he has no business inside. Witness statements provided by those at the scene say that Edwards became extremely combative, and as you can clearly see in the security footage, violently attacked one of the volunteers who was helping transport the toys. A second volunteer tackles Edwards in the parking lot and secures him for several minutes until a West Melbourne police officer arrives on scene and attempts to secure Edwards in handcuffs. Next, you see West Melbourne Police Department body cam footage of the scene and information witnesses provided to the West Melbourne police officers concerning the incident, including video footage of Kathleen Edwards.
The gentleman you have in custody jumped up on our truck.
Okay.
He doesn't belong there.
Was anybody in there?
Well, Brandon. Then I turned my back. I was here.
Outside the truck?
Outside the truck.
Okay.
Facing that way. All at once I felt somebody from behind starting to punch me in my head, kicking me. Then LeBrandon, the guy in the Nike shirt, grabbed him off of me.
He jumped off the truck.
Out?
Yeah, he jumped off the truck.
Okay.
And all I heard my boss man say, "LeBrandon, help!" I turned the corner and he was beating him.
So he didn't swing at you in the truck?
No.
Is he taking any medication now?
I don't, tramadol?
Okay.
Or is it, trazodone.
Trazodone. Is he taking it as he's supposed to? You don't think so?
I just noticed he was acting funny for a couple of days. He hasn't been sleeping.
Okay.
So that's why we were going to go to the VA tomorrow.
At no time at the scene does Kathleen Edwards ever tell the West Melbourne police officers that her husband, Gregory Edwards, had previously huffed multiple cans of Indust electronics cleaner, a fact that likely contributed to his erratic behavior, and if known by the West Melbourne police officers, would certainly have resulted in him being transported to the hospital to be medically cleared prior to being incarcerated. We believe the fact of his drug usage was purposely not revealed to the officers at the scene, because doing so would have, without question, violated his probation for a previous violent attack on a nurse and 2 security guards at the hospital during his last arrest for assault. Ms. Edwards did, however, later reveal the fact to our agents after Edwards was hospitalized, and even showed one of our agents the empty cans he had inhaled. Ultimately, after assaulting and resisting a civilian and officer on scene, Edwards is secured in a patrol car and driven to the Brevard County Jail Complex, which receives all persons taken into custody by any agency in Brevard County. As you can clearly see in the patrol car video that is playing now, Edwards, at 2 separate intervals, had some type of medical episode in the back of the patrol car long prior to his arrival at the Brevard County Jail. The redacted jail security footage that you are now seeing is the version that the court has authorized for release to the public. On December 9th, 2018, at approximately 1:09 p.m., the West Melbourne Police Department arrives at the Brevard County Jail with Gregory Edwards. As you can see from the footage, as the West Melbourne police officer secures his weapon, a member of the Brevard County Sheriff's Office comes outside to help get Edwards inside the facility. A second deputy joins the West Melbourne police officer and our deputy as they work to make sure that Edwards is secure and also to try and get his shoes on. Once his shoes are on, Edwards is escorted to the entrance of the booking desk area. Once inside the secure area, the handcuffs are removed from Edwards and he is recuffed in the front as is standard protocol for the Brevard County Sheriff's Office. As is also standard protocol, the deputies conduct a search of Edwards prior to taking him into the booking area. Once inside the booking area, Edwards is fingerprinted. And then taken to an area where he changes into his jumpsuit. As you can see, Edwards is taken into holding cell number 7. While in the holding cell, not only does he begin to do push-ups, he is provided lunch, and then all of a sudden his level of agitation begins. But as time progresses throughout the 30 minutes he's in the holding cell, you can see him pounding on windows, and even witnesses in the booking area describe him as yelling during this time. At approximately 1:51:38 on the video timer, you see Deputy Otto escorting Edwards out of the holding cell with the intent to photograph him. As the video continues, you can see Edwards wants to go the opposite direction that Deputy Otto is requesting, at which time Deputy Otto gently directs Edwards toward the photograph area at approximately 1:52:01. At this point, Edwards violently erupts and initiates a roundhouse-style swing on Otto with his left hand that drives Otto to the floor, where his head strikes the concrete, with Edwards directly on top of Deputy Otto with his right elbow on Otto's throat. Deputy Otto suffers a brief loss of consciousness as the result of a concussion from his head striking the floor. Edwards immediately turns on Deputy Otto, who is now defenseless and fighting for his life, and with his right hand punches Deputy Otto in the rib area. As a second deputy responds to assist, Edwards is now in complete control of Deputy Otto and has him firmly by the belt with his right hand and violently and repeatedly strikes him in the head and throat with his forearm. As a third deputy arrives, Edwards puts Deputy Otto in a chokehold, and as you can see from the video, is choking Deputy Otto, who is now completely unable to defend himself. In the video, you can see Deputy Wagner using hammer fist strikes on the torso and leg areas of Edwards in an obvious attempt to free his chokehold of Deputy Otto and his grasp on Deputy Otto's duty belt. Hammer fist strikes are a recognized and trained maneuver to gain compliance of a resisting combatant. Deputies are finally able to free Deputy Otto from Edwards' chokehold. However, Edwards still has control of Deputy Otto's belt or clothing, keeping him from being able to break completely free. After several attempts, Deputy Otto is able to partially roll to his knees and deploy OC spray in an attempt to gain control over Edwards, who is still combative and refusing to comply with the deputy's commands to stop fighting. As you can see from the video, Edwards is still violently resisting as an additional deputy and supervisor arrive in the booking area. The deputies are struggling to get Edwards' arms behind his back to secure him as he refuses to comply. At this point, you can see the supervisor initiating multiple knee strikes to the legs of Edwards. Knee strikes are a trained technique utilized to gain compliance of a resistant subject, and in this case, were non-effective on Edwards. As Edwards continues to fight and resist the officers, other deputies arrive in an effort to help gain control of the subject. Deputy Otto initiates several strikes to the arm of Edwards in an effort to get his arms behind his back for cuffing purposes, but the deputies are still unable to gain control. After fighting to gain control of Edwards for over 4 minutes, deputies attempt to utilize a taser to gain control with little to no effect. However, the taser finally helps gain control of him, at which time he is secured with his hands cuffed behind his back and is subsequently moved in accordance with policy to the emergency restraint chair, where he is observed on video still aggressively resisting the restraints and yelling at deputies. Once placed in the restraint chair, a spit mask is used to keep Edwards from spitting, biting, or getting mucus on the corrections deputies. And as you can see from the photograph on the screen, the spit mask in no way restricts any breathing or ability to speak. In fact, our medical examiner tested the same version of the mask while wet and under a variety of conditions to ensure it maintained its breathability. Now, at this point in the video, I want to take a moment to remind everyone that the medical examiner, Brevard County State Attorney, the State of Florida's Medical Examiners Commission, and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement all concluded that Edwards' death was not the result of harm caused by members of the Brevard County Sheriff's Office. The medical examiner subsequently concluded that Gregory Edwards died as the result of excited delirium. And keep in mind that evidence in the case determined that prior to being arrested, Edwards huffed multiple cans of end dust. In fact, even Dr. Roy Bedard, the Florida Today's own expert, who is recognized as an expert witness in use of force and response to resistance, rendered the opinion that the Brevard County Sheriff's Office Corrections deputy's response to resistance to Gregory Edwards was appropriate, and the use of the restraint chair was appropriate as well. So now even Florida Today's own expert witness acknowledges that the men and women of the Brevard County Sheriff's Office responded with the appropriate use of force to Gregory Edwards' violent and unprovoked attack on Deputy Brian Otto as he was actively fighting the entire time. While it was widely reported by the Florida Today that Edwards was then left alone and possibly unresponsive for 16 minutes, you can in fact now see that Edwards is constantly monitored at the booking desk by multiple deputies, and after approximately 10 minutes is moved to a holding cell where he continues to be observed by booking officers through the glass of the holding cell.
I saw, first of all, the guy was knocking on the window real hard.
Okay,
Banging on the window.
So, like one of the other inmates?
The guy that passed away.
Okay.
He was banging on the window for what reason, I don't know.
Like pounding with his fist?
Boom, 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 boom.
Okay.
And he was warned one time, and he kept doing it.
Okay.
He had to go get a picture taken for one of these vans, and the guard was telling him to go that way, but he said he wanted to go this way, out the door. And that's when I seen him start swinging on the guard.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, can you describe the guard?
The guard was bald-headed guy.
Bald-headed guy?
Tall guy.
Okay.
About my height, his bald head.
And the inmate, do you remember what he looked like?
He was like Hispanic or half black.
Okay.
Something like that.
Kind of like a light color?
Light color.
Okay. Yeah. Now, when you said you started swinging on him, how did he start swinging on him?
Just toward his head. Toward the guard head.
Like with closed fists or something?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like he was.
Did he make contact with the guard?
Yeah, he was ready to fight, yeah. I
Okay.
could tell by the expression on his face he was ready to fight.
Okay. So when they were fighting, where were you in relation to that? Like, you said you were in the holding cell?
Mm-hmm.
So was that like directly across from them?
Directly across.
Okay.
I was looking right at him.
Okay.
When it happened.
Okay. So like,
see like that wall right there?
Yeah.
I was right
across.
Right. Just like in the window right here looking right at him.
So when the inmate started swinging on the deputy, what happened after that?
There was tussling on the ground, and I guess I seen another deputy come over, and it was still scuffling. He was like a cage animal or something.
Okay.
And he was still fighting. 6 more deputies came, and he was still fighting.
Okay.
Like he I don't know.
He seemed like he was very strong, like kind of very
Like
aggressive.
he was aggressive, like he was on some kind of drugs or something.
Okay. All right. And then after the deputies got on there, did you see anything else happen?
No.
No.
I didn't. The only thing I saw was they was on the ground scuffling, and they tried to get his arms to restrain him, and he had his arms up on him, and
He wasn't releasing his arms?
he wasn't releasing his arm at all, and they pepper sprayed him, and he was still scuffling very hard, and then another officer, female officer, came and tased him.
Okay.
And he still was very aggressive.
Okay.
You know, he was just fighting.
All right. Was he screaming anything or saying anything?
After he was restrained, he was screaming.
Okay. And then the other, but he was still, once they got him restrained, was he still talking and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was trying to get loose from the chair.
Okay.
He was screaming, and when they put him in the cell next to me, in the chair, he was still screaming and yelling.
Okay. By the chair, what do you mean by the chair?
It's looked like an electric chair, but it was a straining chair that strained his arms and hold his head back.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a net over his head, so I guess it wouldn't bite him.
Bite or spit or something.
Right, something like that. It was a net. Yeah.
Okay. Did officers, what were they saying to him? Could you hear that?
They was trying to tell him to settle down and get his hands so they can, control him. But he wouldn't listen. They was trying to calm him down. But like I said, he was acting like he was on something.
Okay.
But when I first went in there, he wasn't. He was polite. He even spoke to me, and I don't know what happened.
Was he in your holding cell at any time?
No.
Okay. Did you recognize him? Have you ever seen him before?
No, I never saw him before in my life.
Once he was in the chair, you really couldn't see him, or could you see him?
In that restraint chair?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see him.
But then they put him in a neighboring cell. Is that what?
Yeah.
Okay. Could you see him in there?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, at that point, did anything else happen that you saw?
Yeah.
What happened?
It was yelling and hollering and screaming, and I was stood up at that window, and I saw him. He looked over at me, and his eyes rolled back in his head.
So you saw his eyes roll back?
Yeah, I saw his eyes roll back in his head, and then I saw his eyes close. I said he was gone then.
Okay.
Yeah, he was looking straight at me.
Was he, so right before that, what was he doing?
Screaming, hollering, trying to get out that chair again.
And then, was it really quick that you saw him kind of like change to like where he's quiet and then eyes rolling back? Or?
Yeah, it was kind of quick. Like, I'd say about 5 minutes.
Okay.
They stopped screaming. Yeah.
Okay.
Another fact that is misrepresented by the floor today is that deputies did not check on Edwards. However, as you can see from the video footage, several deputies checked on him after he was placed in the holding cell, as well as the booking nurse, who can be seen in the video in red scrubs and a dark-colored long-sleeve shirt. At approximately 2:23 in the afternoon, Deputy Mustafa observed Edwards having what she described as a medical event, so deputies and the booking nurse enter the holding cell to evaluate his condition. As part of her medical evaluation, booking nurse Nadeau places a pulse ox on Edwards while he was in the holding cell, which registered a pulse of 64 and an oxygen level of 98%. Nurse Nadeau in her statement advised that at the time of entering the cell and evaluating Edwards, he blinked his eyes and had chest movement, but did not respond verbally. Therefore, she made the decision to have him transported to the medical ward for further medical evaluation, which ultimately led to his transportation to the hospital by Brevard County Fire Rescue. In closing, the video clearly shows not only did our deputies not do anything to cause Edwards' death, they did everything they could to keep him from being harmed or from injuring himself or anyone else. The only crime you see being committed in the video is by Edwards himself, as he violently engaged in a ground fight with Deputy Otto and actively resisted the lawful orders of our corrections deputies. In an effort to provide the community all the facts, I have posted the entire case file on our website for each of you to review at brevardsheriff.com. Now, this entire charade has gone on long enough. Sadly, there are those in this community who have exploited the death of Gregory Edwards and his entire family for their own agenda. These credibility attacks and conspiracy theories have tarnished the good names of our deputies and the office of the sheriff, attacked the credibility and integrity of a doctor and our chief medical examiner, attacked the integrity of the state attorney, questioned the integrity and process of the state medical examiner review board, and the depth of FDLE's own investigation. There is no question that over the course of the past year, there have been criminal and unprofessional actions by law enforcement officers from around the country. But as you can clearly see, this is not one of them, and the men and women of the Brevard County Sheriff's Office are true professionals who are a shining example of professionalism and honor.